Welcome back. We are in part 3 of the How to Actually Heal series. I'm going to jump right into it. If you've seen the other videos, which I recommend before you get into this one, we have been laying out a couple collective misconceptions that we don't openly articulate, that we might not even be super aware of, but that quietly shape the way we understand, the way we see ourselves and healing, and therefore shape the success we see or not. Because let's be honest, so many of us spend so much time and so much effort, some people even so much money on this journey. We deserve to know what's real and what's not. We deserve to know what is working and what isn't. So go check those out, okay? So today we're going to finally talk about the last one. Our collective misconception of thinking that healing is something that we have to stop our whole lives for is when people fall into the what I call false healing trap. The false healing trap. What is the false healing trap? The false healing trap are those behaviors that once helped you, that once provided you a sense of I'm making progress, but over time, because you've actually already grown beyond it, you just don't realize it yet. There comes a time where those behaviors not only keep you stuck, but they also keep you stuck while making you think you're making progress. The false healing trap is the behaviors that once, rightly so, represent healing in your journey, but then at some point, because you've progressed to a point you didn't even realize you have progressed to, that now turn into a trap, not only keeping you stuck, but keeping you stuck while having you think that you are making progress. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. And I can speak from this with so much resonance and personal experience. So what is happening here? Imagine you are, for the first time, making time for yourself. You're now for the first time really looking inward. Maybe you've had illnesses, maybe you've just had so many instances that told you you actually have to change your life. You actually have to change things up, and the way you are doing things cannot be the way you continue doing things, because one, it's not giving you the correct results or like the results that you want, and two, maybe it's like literally like health threatening, right? A lot of autoimmune diseases, especially in women, come because we don't listen to ourselves. A lot of us are very used to keeping everything in and maintaining things until we get to the point where we realize, it's not even optional anymore. Where we realize, okay, we actually have to change things up. We actually have to get to the bottom of whatever is going on here. Symptom management is not going to do in the long run, right? So let's say you've hit that point. You listen to yourself for the first time. You feel into yourself for the first time. You prioritize yourself for the first time. You say no to certain things. So there can be a time where all of this is a first for you. You're like really, for the first time, giving yourself these things. And it feels great and it's good. So when we do this for the first time, what happens? And this is why this trap actually, falls into place, is in general, if you do things for your body, you're going to feel good. So what happens is we start getting addicted to the good feeling. The thing though is, good feeling is not actually really good. It's not the good, peaceful, real good. It's just for the first time we're not feeling terrible. Our baseline is somewhere else. I added an exercise where I started to draw, like through meditation, right? I started to draw the energy from my head into my body. Because at some point I just realized I'm just over functioning. There's too much happening here. I'm doing too much here. Like it's too much. And I started channeling it down, and I started channeling it in my body. That was the core assignment in that moment. So I started doing that, and I started channeling it down into my body. And what I then noticed by like day 5 or day 6 or something, I was like, oh my God, I don't spend any time here at all. I'm always here. I haven't been in my body. That was the thing. And once I did that and I realized that, I had nights where I woke up in pain out of nowhere, like in emotional pain. And then in the following days, I was like, oh my God, now I get why I'm always in my head. I don't want to be here. There's so much pain here. So I left. So I just went into my head and decided to live there instead. And this is what many of us do. So then in that week, I started making the connection, because at the same time, I was genuinely not happy with how my work life was shaping. A few things where I noticed I am not, and I mean like not even close to embodying my full potential, my full value that I'm bringing to the table. I was still making myself small, but I was also not fighting it. Because in my head, I was like, I need to chill. I've been pushing and fighting and hustling and fighting my whole life. I just want to chill. I just want to chill. And I did that for some time. But in that particular week, at some point, I started making the connection. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not trying to be my body. So now I live in my head instead. So now a lot of my career is happening where here, not in the real world. It's just happening here. Ideas, concepts, strategy. But I wasn't doing it, because who was doing the doing? It's the body. And I was not being in my body. So that was the first time I saw the connection between me and not feeling and keeping myself safe from feeling, and me being stuck in the same place and me not doing the things I was meant to do in my life and in my work. It connected. And that is the core message of today. Really is to give you just the insight, just the key of there is such thing as false healing. There is such thing as being in a space where you do something that has at some point worked, but now is actually something that is holding you back. But because it is still providing you with a sense of feeling better than before, you mistake that for healing. While in reality, it is actually keeping you separate from what you need to do. You have to feel, you have to come back into your body so you can be back in your life again. Everything you do that is keeping you away from that is prolonging the process. So on discernment, there are absolutely times where stillness is absolutely necessary. I'm even a person that says stillness is absolutely necessary every day. I wouldn't be able to function if I didn't have a practice in which I practiced stillness on a daily basis, because my mind is very active and I have a lot of buzzing energy. So I need that. But if we're talking about more prolonged times in our lives, there is absolutely a time and space where stillness is absolutely necessary and helpful. We can only change the way we act and the way we move if our brain can look at the way that we do them without us being in it. You know what I mean? Meaning sometimes we just need a break. And then also there are times where this provides us with a false sense of comfort and a false sense of this is healing. Sometimes those same things, like stillness, being isolated, doing things only on our terms, withdrawing, being to ourselves, focusing really on our rest when really that rest is just checking out from the world. Sometimes it's also that. So what are we hinting at with all of this? We're working with an incomplete understanding of healing. The way we currently look at healing, the way the industry is like looking at healing, a lot of the stuff that you see on the internet, the way we look at healing, it's one aspect that people talk about. But we've just looked at this aspect and made it the whole thing. And then we start having these fantasies about what healing is. And then we think it's white gowns and flowers in our hair, incense and Palo Santo, which are all things that I love. I love Palo Santo. I love incense. I love flowers. I love, flowy gowns. Of course we love that. But we come to think that that is healing. So we mystify it and we just live in this fantasy world of what healing is. And that creates big problems because we actually don't know what we're aiming at. We actually don't know what the outcome of this is. We actually don't know. We're investing so much time and so much energy into this. We actually don't know what the outcome looks like. What does it mean when I'm actually healed? What does that mean when I've healed successfully? Are angels gonna appear? Is it gonna be, will I have like cute little birds flying around me all the time? Will I have a halo? Will every stranger smile at me and give me like money? But that's what I'm saying. Like, the discourse on healing is so delusional sometimes. So what's the antidote? We have the full understanding of what healing is. And you know what the counterpart to healing is that we don't talk about enough? Do you know what it is? It's very practical. It's very common sense. It's our lives. It's our lives. The ultimate yardstick to how well our healing is going is our life. How's our life looking? And I'm not saying mistake it for, you have to have a perfect life. It has nothing to do with that. Actually, put differently, the word that I want to highlight is change. Is change. You want to look at healing as change. Healing is change. It's a change in how you feel. It's a change in how you move. It's a change in how you design and create and live your life. In an unhealed place, you might be prone to staying in that same toxic work environment. But once you're healed, you're like, I'm sorry, this is beneath me. Right? This is what healing does. It changes you. You become a different person. You literally, if you're into Joe Dispenza's work, whom I love, such a G. Joe Dispenza, such a G. Oh my God. Anyway, if you get into his work, he will speak about, he's very good at making, the outcomes of meditation in a very, he speaks about it in a very scientific way. So he really talks about how, before and after meditation, before a longer period of doing the practice and after, how literally the chemical substances in your body change. He talks about how we are the pharmacy. We create our own pharmacy by the thoughts that we think and the things that keep going on in our brains. And if we can change that, we literally change the chemicals in our body, and over time we literally change our tissues. Every 7 years it is said that every cell, there's no cell in the body that has been here 7 years ago. It changes, right? We have such a big say in all of this, right? So the more we feed that into the direction that we want, the more we actually change. So healing is change. Healing is change. And ultimately, you see change reflected in your life. Because if you are changed, you are showing up in a changed way. You're making different decisions. You're now saying no to things before you would have defaulted to saying yes to. You stop hanging around people you would have normally just hung out with just because they've always been there. You change. And when you change, your life changes. When you change, you create the ground on which your new life can take place. It goes hand in hand. It can never be separate. It goes together. So this is how I would like you to look at healing. Healing is not this mystical fairy tale thing you do on a Bali retreat. And you come back with crazy eyes. Come on, no shade, but no, come on, let's be very real. That's not healing. That's not healing. A lot of that stuff is bypassing. A lot of that stuff is not feeling the very things you need to feel in order to be back again. Be here and present again. So with that conception, with that understanding of healing is actually just change. Healing is just change, and the ultimate yardstick for how well my healing process is going is how I'm feeling, and how this me feeling is affecting the environment around me and the life that I'm creating around me. My life now becomes the yardstick for how thorough I am with myself, and how thorough and how high my standards are with how good I want to feel. That's healing. That is healing. That is healing. And again, don't get this twisted, because I went down that route also. Like, don't mistake this with you have to have a perfect life, and you have to have the perfect car, and you have to be in the perfect tax bracket, and have to have the perfect, whatever it is. And then say, yes, if this is correct, then that means I'm healed. No, it doesn't go outside in, it goes inside out. You look at yourself first. You look at how you feel first. You make sure that you are in a good state. Not just today, not just when you are when you have when you have a peak moment of adrenaline, or you're excited, consistently as your new state. This is what you start out with. And then from there, naturally, you will start to shape your life in a different way. This is what I mean with your life then starts to become a yardstick. Your life then becomes a reflection of how well your healing efforts are actually becoming fruitful. So no, you don't have to stop your life to heal. Every time you take time for yourself to go into hibernation, to rest, to listen, to hear yourself, to be in stillness, to look after yourself, to care for yourself. Every time you do that and you check out from the world, every time you do that, that is time well spent. That is your life's time well spent. Because in there, you are exercising your right, your free will, into the direction that you want. Every time you take the time for yourself, it is not lost time. It is you calibrating. It is you grounding. It is you uncovering your own baseline. It is you grounding into the life that you actually want to live. That time is never lost. There is no such thing as this healing is taking too long. No, if it's taking too long, it just means you're not going deep enough. You're not seeing the value this moment is providing you with. And that is to calibrate you exactly into the frequency that you want to have for the rest of your life. That time is never lost. That is one reality. And then also, there will be times where you don't need that hibernation for healing, where you don't need to completely withdraw and, be in stillness. Sometimes your healing will need instead for you to make the next step. Sometimes healing requires us to push against something that feels unnatural. Because again, understandably, when you're first in this motion of taking care of yourself and looking after yourself, when you're feeling that for the first time and you're feeling comfort for the first time, we can tip into a state of becoming addicted to it while we're not even at the end destination yet. So we're becoming addicted to a half, okay, right? But our lives have still not really caught up. We're still in some in-between state. Maybe we left the relationship that was not working out at all, but maybe we're now drawn to other people that are really the same. Maybe we left that one job. Maybe we became, we started working for ourselves, but now we start taking on projects, and the conversations we're having with the clients are actually the very same that we had before. You know what I mean? So therefore, I'm saying to you in a very practical way, your healing is not happening in some vacuum. Your healing is happening here, today, now, in your life, and how you live your life, how you work, how you spend time with your family, your friends, your partner. All of those are reflections of how you feel on the inside. So lastly, the motion, should I make an illustration for this? We'll see. The motion is not first healing and then my real life. The motion is actually my real life, and healing is happening along the way. We're much better off looking at healing as something, as a skill. We're much better off looking at healing as something that a capacity that we're learning that is growing with us in our lives. Life is always going to life. So we're always going to be much better off not looking at first I have to heal and then I can actually live my life. Two, I'm always living my life. I'm always living my life. I'm always living my life. And this healing, I'm just getting better and better and better and better and better at it. Because what is healing at the end of the day? If you strip everything away and you look at what you're actually doing in healing, you know what you're doing? You're getting to know yourself. You're learning yourself. Not just your history, not just the whole mental part, but you're seeing how you're feeling, you're seeing how you react to different things. Looking at healing as a skill that is growing with us, and a skill of knowing ourselves and knowing how to work with ourselves in any given situation. And this is something that is not going to get less important once you've stopped healing. This is something that is going to grow with you and help you in situations that go from survival to healing to expanding. It's going to help you ultimately live and shape the life that you want to live, right? So this was today's message. Beware of the false healing trap. Know that it exists. Know that it exists. You know, the discernment on which it is for you right now obviously is for you to make. But know that it exists. This is my service for you today. I want you to know that it exists. I want you to know that in some scenario, one behavior can constitute as healing, and the same behavior in another situation can constitute as you as avoiding a friction, a tension, emotion that is actually needed for you to move into a new set of circumstances in your life that are actually going to bring in the healing that you want, as opposed to being stuck in the same place all the time. Because when we change, when we heal, it's not just that we change, our lives change. And this is what we want. This is why we do the work. So thank you for watching. This was the third video of a 3-part series on how to actually heal. I hope you were able to gain a few things on this. Again, most of what I speak about is built on my 10-year meditation practice. It's the foundation to everything I teach. I have put together a free masterclass that's available on my website. If you're ready, if you feel called to get into that work, do it. I can only recommend you get into this work for yourself. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself, the ability to see yourself, the ability just to be aware of what's going on. It gives you so much freedom. It gives you so much agency and power in what is going on, because you're not absorbed and sucked into life anymore, but you become more of a observer of things, even of yourself, right? So that's that. Have a lovely day. I'll see you guys soon.